In 2024, while we scroll through social media complaining about our freedoms, 25 million North Koreans live under surveillance so intense they can't even choose their own hairstyle. Tonight, you'll hear from Sujin, daughter of a high-ranking diplomat, who spent 10 years secretly planning his family's escape from Pyongyang's elite. This is the story of a father who risked everything, including a political prison camp, to give his children what we take for granted every single day: the right to live without fear. If these stories matter to you, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us bring these untold stories to light. Together, we can be a voice for those who cannot speak. I was born in Pyongyang. My father was a high-ranking official at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and my mother was a diplomat too. We were considered one of the elite families in Pyongyang. My brother Min-hyuk was 2 years older than me, and we grew up in what seemed like a happy home. Father was strict but caring. Every morning he'd polish his Kim Il-sung badge with care. Every evening he'd make us sing revolutionary songs. "You are children of the party," he'd say. "You must serve the homeland." I believe my father was the perfect party servant. But when mother wasn't around, things were different. He'd call us into his study and speak quietly. "Sujin, Min-hyuk, you must study hard, especially foreign languages." I was 8 years old. I didn't understand why languages mattered, but I studied hard because father said so. We moved to Beijing when I was 8. Both my parents were assigned to the embassy there. "We're all going together," father said with a smile, but something in his eyes seemed different, like there was a deeper meaning behind his words. My first glimpse of Beijing from the plane was stunning. Buildings far taller than in Pyongyang, a city that stretched endlessly, bright lights everywhere. "Dad, this place is huge!" I shouted, excited. Father stroked my hair. "Yes, the world is vast, my Sujin." The embassy housing was nicer than our Pyongyang home, spacious and clean. Min-hyuk and I each had our own room. Through the window, I could see Beijing's streets. Cars moved late into the night, buildings stayed lit, a sight we'd never see in Pyongyang. I started attending an international school. Chinese kids, foreign kids, we all studied together. It felt strange at first, but exciting. They laughed freely, talked loudly, played without fear. I wanted to be like that too. One Sunday, father took us to Wangfujing Street. The place was packed. People shopping, eating, taking photos. Everyone looked happy. "Dad, why are they all smiling like that?" I asked. Father looked at me for a moment without speaking. Then quietly he said, "Because they're free." "Free? What does that mean?" He didn't answer. He just held my hand tighter. That night I overheard my parents talking through a crack in the door. "Are you really going to do this?" Mother's voice. Father answered, "For the children, I have to." I didn't understand what they meant, but the tone was serious. Life at the embassy continued. My parents went to work every day, and Min-hyuk and I went to school. On weekends, we'd explore the city, though only on approved routes. Still, it felt like an adventure. Sometimes father would act strangely. Late at night, he'd sit alone in his study, writing something or staring out the window for long stretches. Once I asked him, "Dad, what are you doing?" He jumped, quickly covering the papers. "Oh, just work." "You should be sleeping, Sujin." At school, I learned Chinese and English. Father was thrilled. "You're doing great, Sujin. Languages are important." He never explained why, but I studied hard. I wanted to make him proud. One Sunday, father took us to the summer palace. Beautiful gardens, a tranquil lake. "Kids, look around and remember this place," he said seriously. "There are so many beautiful places in the world. You need to see them for yourselves." As we sat by the lake, a Chinese family floated past in a boat, laughing. Father watched them for a long time. He looked sad. "Dad, what's wrong?" I asked. He shook his head and smiled. "Nothing. I was just thinking, I wish you could live like that." At the time, I didn't understand. We were happy enough, weren't we? We had a nice home in Beijing, a good school, delicious food. What more could we want? But later I realized, father was already planning. He was going to set us free, no matter the cost. Every night he'd come to our rooms and kiss our foreheads. "Sleep well, my Sujin. I'll always protect you." I didn't understand what those words truly meant. I didn't know what he was preparing. Our first year in Beijing passed. I grew a little older, my Chinese improved. I made friends at school. I was living as a normal diplomat's child. But father was anything but normal. Every night he was planning something. One evening he called me over. "Sujin, can I ask you something?" His voice was quiet. "If you could live here forever, would you want to?" I answered, "I like it here. But we have to go back to Pyongyang eventually, right?" Father didn't respond. He just stroked my head and smiled quietly. Looking back now, I can see how much planning and resolve lay behind that smile. But at the time, I had no idea. I didn't know Father was already designing our future. 3 years passed in Beijing. I turned 11, Minhyuk 13. On the surface, things seemed normal, but our lives weren't free. The embassy had security agents and we were always being watched. Every time we went out, we had to report. Where are you going? Who are you meeting? Even family outings on weekends required approval. We could only visit designated places, and private conversations with Chinese people were forbidden. We couldn't get too close to school friends either. Every Saturday morning, there was a life review session. All embassy staff and their families gathered for self-criticism. Reflect on your mistakes this week in a revolutionary manner. I had to attend too, even though I was only 11. One Saturday, a woman cried as she confessed. I overheard talk about a South Korean drama at a Chinese shop. Out of curiosity, I listened. I am ashamed. The security agent responded coldly. This will be reported to Pyongyang headquarters. The following week, her family was gone. Rumor said they'd been summoned back to Pyongyang. I was terrified. If we mess up, we could be dragged away too. Even at home, we had to be careful. The apartment walls were thin. Our neighbors were also embassy staff. My parents always spoke in hushed tones. Sometimes they'd turn the radio up loud and whisper to each other. One night, on my way to the bathroom, I overheard them. If you keep this up, we'll all die. Mother's voice. Just a little longer. When the time comes, Father replied. I didn't know what they were talking about, but it scared me. Surveillance continued at school too. It was an international school, but the North Korean kids had separate meetings every Wednesday. Sing songs praising the great leader and recite General Kim Jong-il's teachings. The teacher watched us closely. Once a Chinese friend asked me, Sujin, what's your country like? Are people really starving there? I froze. What should I say? If I told the truth, it would be reported. No, that's all lies. Our country is, I answered as I'd been taught. But that night I couldn't sleep. Was it really a lie? The Chinese people I'd seen in Beijing looked happy. They moved freely, ate what they wanted. Why couldn't we? One Sunday, Father spoke to me carefully. Sujin, want to take a walk with me? We went to a quiet path behind the embassy. Few people around. Sujin. Father glanced around and spoke in a low voice. Listen carefully. You must never tell anyone what I'm about to say. My heart pounded. Okay, Dad. He hesitated, then spoke. Not everything we've been taught is true. The world is far bigger and freer than we've been told. I felt like I couldn't breathe. But Dad, you can't say things like that. It's dangerous. That's why it's a secret. Just between us. Father gripped my shoulders. One day I'm going to set you free. Really free. Just wait a little longer. After that day, I saw Father differently. By day, a loyal diplomat. By night, a man planning something. A father trying to protect us. But it was too dangerous. If we were caught, we'd all be finished. In our 5th year in Beijing, shocking news reached the embassy. Councillor Park's family had been caught trying to defect. They'd been arrested by Chinese police. The whole family was sent back to North Korea. Rumors said they were taken to a political prison camp. That evening, our home felt frozen. My parents barely spoke. They could hardly eat. I thought of Eugene, Councillor Park's daughter and my friend. Now she was in a camp. That night, Father called Min Hyuk and me into the living room. Kids, come out here. His voice was different. We sat on the sofa as he locked the door and turned the radio up loud. You know what happened today, right? Father said quietly. Min Hyuk and I nodded. Eugene's family, you mean? Yes. They were caught trying to defect. Father stared out the window for a long time. Then suddenly he knelt in front of us. Dad! I cried out, startled. Mother tried to help him up. No, I need to tell the children. His voice trembled. The truth is, I've been planning this for a long time. To get you out of this hell. My heart stopped. Dad, what are you... Listen, why do you think I became a diplomat? Why I wanted to come to Beijing? It was all for this moment. Father began to explain slowly. During the arduous march, I saw too much. People starving to death. Bodies in the streets. That's when I decided I couldn't let my children live in a place like this. So I applied to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. As a diplomat, I could see the outside world, and I spent 10 years preparing. The Beijing assignment, convincing your mother, all part of the plan. Mother was already crying. Are you really going through with this? You saw what happened to Councillor Park's family today. If we fail. I know, but I can't live like this anymore. Father looked at us. Sujin, Minhyuk, haven't you felt jealous watching Chinese kids? The way they laugh freely, talk openly, dream without fear. Haven't you wondered why we can't? Tears burst from me. Yes. Every day. Why are we the only ones being watched? Why do we have to be so careful about what we say? Minhyuk nodded too. Exactly. Father's voice rose. This isn't living. This is prison. I can't raise you like this. I'd rather die trying to give you freedom. We're going to defect. Father's voice was firm. We're going to South Korea. There's no surveillance there, no fear. You can live however you want? Minhyuk asked in a shaking voice. Dad, isn't that really dangerous? Like what happened to Eugen's family today. It's dangerous, yes. If we fail, we're all finished. But if we succeed, we're free. Father pulled out a small bag. Inside were documents and money. I've been gathering this for 10 years. Defection route information, broker contacts, settlement materials for South Korea. Everything's ready. When are we leaving? I asked. Father was silent for a moment, then answered, Next week. We can't wait any longer. After today's incident, with Counselor Park, surveillance at the embassy will tighten. It's now or never. Mother hugged us tight. Kids, you're scared, right? Mom's scared too. But your father is right. We can't keep living like this. Let's be brave together. That night, our family talked for hours. The defection plan, the risks, the odds of success. Everything was uncertain, but one thing was clear. We couldn't live like this anymore. Dad, Minhyuk said, I'll go. I'm scared, but I want to live freely. I nodded too. Me too, Dad. We're family. Father hugged us tight. Thank you, kids. Thank you for trusting me. We're going to make it. I've spent 10 years preparing. We won't fail. The next day, we began preparations carefully. We minimized our belongings and packed only essentials. A few photos, some clothes, and the documents Father had prepared. No one at the embassy noticed. We went to work, attended school, sat in meetings as usual. But every night, our family gathered to review the plan. A week later, on Saturday, Father spoke. That day, we'll head to the South Korean embassy. It's the weekend, so there'll be fewer people at the embassy, and it'll be easier for us to get permission to go out. That final week passed. Each day felt like an eternity. At the same time, it felt like time was speeding up. Finally, the day we'd find freedom was approaching. That week was hell. During the day, we lived as usual, but every night I had nightmares. Father prepared carefully. The plan he'd spent 10 years on was finally being executed. Finally, Saturday came. It rained from morning. Good. Rain is better. The CCTV won't pick us up as clearly. Father spoke calmly, but his hands were shaking. At 9 we got permission to go out just like always. We said we were going on a family outing. We each carried a bag and left the embassy. The guard asked, Where are you going? The Great Wall. The kids want to see it. The moment we stepped through the embassy gate, I looked back. It was the last time. We'd never return to North Korea. My chest felt like it was tearing. It was home, but it had also been a prison. We got in a taxi. To the Great Wall, please, Father said in Chinese. But we didn't go to the Great Wall. We got out at a different place midway. A small restaurant deep in a hutong alley. A Chinese man was waiting there. A broker. He spoke with Father in low tones. I couldn't see the man's face. I was scared. Can we really trust this person? You need to hide here for a day, the broker said. The embassy will be looking for you. We'll move at dawn tomorrow. We were led to a back room in the restaurant, a small dark room. That day lasted forever. Trapped in a windowless room, we had to stay silent. We could barely eat. Every time we heard a siren outside, my heart stopped. Dad, are we going to get caught? I asked in a trembling voice. Father held me tight. We won't. I've spent 10 years preparing, remember? We're going to make it. Night came. Mother fed us kimbap. She'd pulled it from her bag when had she prepared it. Eat up. We don't know when we'll eat again, but I couldn't swallow. My throat was too tight. At 3 the broker knocked on the door. We're leaving now. Follow me quietly. We grabbed our bags and went outside. Beijing's streets were quiet. Only an occasional car passed. A van was waiting. We got in the back seat. Where are we going? Mother asked. South for now. We need to get far from Beijing. The broker's answer. The car started moving. Through the window, Beijing receded. Skyscrapers, bright lights. The city we'd lived in for 5 years. A landscape we'd never see again. We drove for hours. The sun began to rise. I was exhausted but couldn't sleep. I kept looking back. What if someone's following us? What if the North Korean security agency found out? There's a checkpoint, the broker suddenly shouted. Up ahead, Chinese police vehicles appeared. Everyone heads down. Your faces can't be seen. We ducked quickly. The car approached the checkpoint slowly. A policeman knocked on the window. The broker said something, but I couldn't understand the Chinese. I couldn't even breathe. Father squeezed my hand. Go ahead. The policeman waved us through. The car moved forward again. We'd passed the checkpoint. Phew, Min-hyuk sighed. We made it. But this was just the beginning. Day came. We arrived at a small village. You'll need to hide here for 2 days, the broker said. The embassy's searching everywhere. We need to wait it out. We entered a rundown house. An elderly Chinese woman lived there. North Korean defectors hide here often, the broker explained. Don't worry. This place is safe, but it didn't feel safe. For 2 days, we couldn't go outside. We couldn't open the windows or speak loudly. It felt like being prisoners. On the third night, the broker came back. We're leaving tomorrow morning. The South Korean embassy is in Beijing. We have to go back to Beijing. My heart stopped. Back to Beijing? The city we just escaped from? Isn't that dangerous? Father asked. It's dangerous, yes, but there's no other way. The South Korean embassy is only in Beijing. That night I couldn't sleep. Going back to Beijing, the security agency would be searching for us. At 4 a.m., we got in the car. The road back to Beijing was quiet. The sun hadn't risen yet. Only darkness outside the window. I held Father's hand tight. He was trembling too. Hours later, we arrived in Beijing. The sun was just starting to rise. The city we'd lived in for 5 years. Familiar buildings, familiar streets. But now it was a place of fear. There's the North Korean embassy, the broker pointed. We could see where we used to work. Lights were on. They're probably searching for us right now, Mother said quietly. The car kept moving. We drove across downtown Beijing. Morning rush hour was approaching. People began appearing on the streets one by one. An ordinary morning. But for us, it was a moment when our entire lives hung in the balance. The South Korean embassy, there it is, the broker said. A few blocks ahead, I could see the building. The Tagoki flag shone in the morning sun. If we could just get inside, we'd be safe. Get out here. The broker stopped the car about 100 meters from the embassy. If we drive right up to the entrance, it'll look suspicious. Walk from here. Act like you're just taking a stroll. We got out of the car. Each of us carrying a bag. The broker said one last thing. Good luck. Once you're inside the embassy, you're safe. Don't look back. Just keep walking. We started walking. Father led with Mother, me, and Min-hyuk following. Slowly, naturally. But my legs were shaking. My heart was racing. I looked at the people around us. Commuters, joggers, a man selling newspapers. No one paid us any attention. We probably looked like an ordinary family. There, Father said in a small voice. The South Korean embassy was right in front of us. A white building, the Tagoki flag, and security guards. Just 50 more meters. Suddenly I heard a car behind us. I wanted to turn around, but I didn't. The broker had said, never look back. I just kept walking. 40 meters, 30 meters, 20 meters. We were getting closer. A security guard saw us. He looked curious. We probably didn't look like ordinary people. Now, Father suddenly started running. We ran too. We ran as hard as we could, carrying our bags. The guard looked shocked. Please help us, Father shouted in Korean. We're North Korean diplomats. We're trying to defect. We're a family. His voice was shaking. The guard quickly grabbed his radio. The embassy door opened. Staff rushed out. Get inside now, someone yelled. We ran through the embassy gate. As I crossed the threshold, I stumbled. Someone caught me. You're okay. You're safe now. A South Korean staff member's voice. The door closed. We collapsed on the floor. Gasping for breath, we hugged each other. Did we really make it? I asked. Yes, we made it, Min-hyuk answered, crying. Father held Mother tight. Honey, we did it. 10 years. Finally. He couldn't finish. He just cried. Mother, too. All of us cried. A South Korean embassy staffer brought us water. Drink slowly. You're safe now. No one can touch you anymore. Hearing those words, all the strength left my body. Thank you, Father said, bowing his head. Thank you so much. The staffer smiled. You're welcome. Welcome to the Republic of Korea. You're free now. We were led to a small room. There were sofas. For the first time, we could sit comfortably. No surveillance. No fear. Dad, is it really over? I asked. Yes. It's over, Father said, stroking my head. This is the beginning now, the beginning of a free life. The day I've waited 10 years for has finally come. Mother hugged us tight. Our family did so well. I looked out the window. I could see Beijing streets. People walked by normally. Until yesterday, we had lived like that too. But now it was different. We had found freedom. That night, we slept in the embassy quarters. For the first time in 10 years, we could sleep peacefully. It was the result of Father's planning, our family's courage, and some luck. Now we were free. Our time inside the embassy lasted longer than expected. We waited for over 2 weeks. Why is it taking so long? I asked. A staffer explained, we have to coordinate with several countries. You don't have passports and North Korea keeps protesting. Every day we filled out paperwork. Reasons for defection, family relationships, life in North Korea. Everything had to be detailed. It was being sent to the South Korean government. We were questioned too. Did you really defect voluntarily? You're not spies, are you? Those kinds of questions. Every night we could hear noise outside. People from the North Korean embassy had come to protest. Return our diplomat. It was scary, but the embassy door stayed shut. We were safe. On the 14th day, news finally came. The South Korean government has issued temporary travel documents. You can leave now. But we couldn't go directly to South Korea. You'll have to transit through a third country. You'll go to Bangkok, Thailand first, and from there take a flight to Incheon. I was anxious. Will we be safe during such a long journey? The staffer smiled. Don't worry. The entire process goes through diplomatic channels. The South Korean government will take care of everything. That reassured me a bit. When I asked why it had to be this way, the staffer explained, if you fly directly from China to Korea, North Korea might cause problems at the airport. A third country transit is safer. It was complicated, but it was the only way. The night before departure, we packed our things. A few sets of clothes the embassy had prepared for us, and the documents. That was all. Father said, tomorrow, real freedom. Let's hold on a little longer. Mother hugged us tight. Our family endured so well. We're almost there. That night, I stared out the window for a long time. Stars shone in Beijing's sky. The same stars we'd seen in North Korea, but they felt completely different. Because now we were heading toward freedom. A diplomatic vehicle came in the middle of the night. We're leaving now. Get in quietly. We got in the car. The drive to Beijing airport was quiet. We entered through a diplomatic passage. We didn't encounter regular passengers. We boarded the plane. Destination Bangkok. The moment I sat in my seat, tears came. We're really leaving. Through the window, I could see Beijing's lights. The city we'd lived in for 5 years. A place we'd never see again. Hours later, we arrived in Bangkok. It was early morning. A South Korean embassy vehicle was waiting. Welcome. You're almost there. We went to the South Korean embassy in Bangkok. There we waited one more day. The next evening, we finally boarded a flight to Incheon. This time, we were really going to Korea. The moment the plane took off, Father squeezed my hand. Sujin, we did it. 10 years of waiting, it was worth it. Bibimbap was served as the in-flight meal. Korean food. I took a spoonful and put it in my mouth. Tears came. Because now I was going to become Korean. Because I could live freely. Hours passed and an announcement came over the speakers. We will soon be landing at Incheon International Airport. Through the window I started to see Korean land. Lights, buildings, the land of freedom. The place Father had spent 10 years preparing for. The plane landed at Incheon Airport. The moment the wheels touched the runway, tears burst from me. We're here, Dad. We're in Korea. Father, Mother, and Minhyuk were all crying too. We walked down the corridor toward the immigration hall. My legs were shaking. Is this really Korea? Did we really make it? Staff from the Ministry of Unification were waiting. Welcome. Welcome to the Republic of Korea. Hearing those words, I wanted to collapse. So this is what being welcomed feels like, this warmth. We were guided through a separate passage. They said we'd need to be interviewed. We'd stay in temporary housing for a few days. On the first night, I looked out the window of the temporary lodging. Incheon streets were bright. Cars moved freely and people walked around late into the night. A scene unimaginable in North Korea. A few days later, we went to Hanwon, a place where North Korean defectors receive settlement education. You'll spend 3 months learning about life in Korea, they said. Korean expressions, capitalist economics, democratic systems. Everything was fascinating. One day after class, the teacher took us to a supermarket. A field trip for social experience. The moment I stepped through the supermarket door, I couldn't breathe. Endless rows of products. Fruit, meat, snacks, drinks. Everything was overflowing. Pick whatever you want, the teacher said with a smile. I hesitated. Can I really just pick? Without a ration card? Without permission? It's fine. Here, anyone can buy what they want. I picked up strawberries. Bright red, fresh strawberries. In North Korea, only high-ranking officials could eat fruit like this. Can I really buy this? Of course. At the checkout counter, tears came. This is freedom. Min-hyuk bought chocolate. Mother bought meat, and father bought fruit. We sat on a bench outside the supermarket and ate strawberries. They were sweet and delicious. The taste of freedom. One weekend, we were allowed to visit Seoul with permission from Hanwon. We took the subway. People laughed freely, talked on the phone, listened to music. No one was being watched. We walked through Myeongdong. Neon signs blazed. People shopped and ate and took photos. Everyone looked happy. Dad, why are all these people smiling? I asked. Because they're free, Father answered. Because they have nothing to fear. Because they're not being watched. They just live the way they want. Hearing those words, I understood. This was why Father had spent 10 years preparing. In the evening, we had chicken, Korean fried chicken, crispy and delicious. Our family sat around the table, laughing and eating. No surveillance, no need to report anything. Just a family happily sharing a meal. This was freedom. On the day we graduated from Hanwon, I received a certificate, proof that I had become a citizen of the Republic of Korea. Father hugged us tight. You're Korean now. Now you're truly free. We got a small apartment in Seoul with government support. Not large, but it was ours. No surveillance cameras, no informants next door, just our family's home. For the first time, we could sleep peacefully. 6 months after arriving in Korea, it was April. Father and mother found jobs at a small company, and Min-hyuk and I started school. An ordinary life, but every day felt like a miracle. One Saturday, Father said, "Let's go to an amusement park today as a family." I was excited. Our family going out to have fun together, something unimaginable in North Korea. We took the subway to Jamsil. When we stood at the amusement park entrance, I looked around. Families held hands and walked. Kids ran around laughing. No one was being watched. They were just happily enjoying themselves. Inside the park, I watched people. A father carrying his daughter on his shoulders. Couples holding hands. Friends laughing and shouting. Everyone was free. No fear, no surveillance. Just living. I looked at my father. He was watching the people around us too. His eyes looked moist. "Dad, are you okay?" I asked. Father hugged me. "Thank you, Sujin. We made it here. This is what I spent 10 years preparing for." Father gestured around us. "So you could live like these people. Laugh freely without fear. Just live like a human being." Tears came to my eyes. Our family sat on a bench and watched people for a long time without speaking. Mother held Father's hand tight. "It's all thanks to you. Thank you so much." Min-hyuk held my hand too. We hugged each other tight. We left the amusement park and walked to the Han River waterfront. It was April and the cherry blossoms were in full bloom. Pink petals danced in the wind. "So these are cherry blossoms," I marveled. "I can't believe such beautiful flowers exist." We walked around the lake. People had spread out picnic blankets, eating chicken, listening to music, laughing. An ordinary weekend scene. But to us, it looked like a dream. "I guess these people think this is normal, right?" Min-hyuk said. "Yeah, they've been free since birth," I answered. "We weren't. That's why it feels even more precious." Father stood under a cherry tree. Petals drifted onto his shoulders. "It took 10 years, but we did it. Our whole family found freedom." Mother cried. Tears of joy. I took a photo. Our family under the cherry tree. Everyone was smiling. Real smiles. Not forced smiles, but smiles that came from happiness. That evening on the subway ride home, Father said, "Today might be the happiest day of my life." 10 years of preparation, it was worth it. I held Father's hand tight. Now I'm a college student. Min-hyuk works at a company. Our family lives an ordinary life in Seoul. On weekends, we eat together, walk in the park, watch movies. Sometimes I share my story at Defector gatherings. Freedom isn't free. It's earned through someone's courage and sacrifice, like my father. People applaud. Before I fall asleep at night, I always think, if Father hadn't spent 10 years preparing, if our family hadn't had the courage, I'd still be living under surveillance at the Beijing embassy. Through my window, I see Seoul's night view. Bright lights, people moving freely. It all feels like a dream. But it's real. It's our reality, the one Father spent 10 years preparing for us. There are still so many people in North Korea, living under surveillance, starving, afraid. What I can do is tell their stories and talk about how precious freedom is. Today I live freely, smiling, dreaming, loving, just as Father wanted. This is the gift Father spent 10 years giving us, the gift called freedom. Thank you for listening to my story.